Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Drums and Drams. My name's Cameron, and today we're going to find out if this $250 bottle of old stubborn pot still wheated bourbon is actually worth the price tag, or if it's just another overpriced bottle in a market that is full of limited editions and special releases, not only from legacy distilleries, but also from small craft operations as well. Now, this bottle first kind of came into view for me on those online retailers that we all know and love. Shared Pour and Sealbox. There may have been a few others. And I think when most folks saw this bottle, not only with the price tag, but with this kind of ornate presentation, a name that they didn't recognize, and a low bottle count as well, they thought maybe this is manufactured hype and just another money grab in the market. And admittedly, I kind of had that same impression at the beginning. But when I started reading about this bottle and I saw the stats of the whiskey, I was convinced to pull the trigger on this, to kind of take that $250 gamble. And I know some folks, no matter what I say in this video, whether it's good or bad, they're going to say, absolutely not. No whiskey is worth $250. And that is totally your prerogative. For me, I'm used to spending a little bit more on some special releases. But even so, if this is not great whiskey, I'm going to say it's not. I'm going to say it's not worth that $250, but I do think we should give it a fair shake. So let's talk about the stats that kind of convinced me to pull the trigger on this one. First and foremost, it is bottled at 123.8 proof or 61.9% ABV, so a super solid proof point. And if we look on the back of this tube, which again, I mean, this is pretty, right? The purple trim, very simple, the fact that it's just one of these cardboard tubes, but very effective. I think the presentation's great. We do find out here that this is a blend of 10, 11, and 13-year pot still wheated bourbon. Great ages for this blend, and so you can't really argue with that. I mean, again, $250 is a lot, but this is not some 6-year product from an NDP, sourcing stuff that everybody else has. In fact, this is distilled in West Virginia. And so your mind is going to go to a few places this could be from. Let me know in the comments what you think. I'm not going to speculate in this video, but a great set of ages for the blend. It is wheated bourbon, like I've said, and your mind should automatically go to Pappy and Old Fitz. I mean, that's what I think of, those legacy brands that have popularized that style. But wheated bourbon can take a lot of forms. It can have a lot of different flavor profiles. And the more interesting word there is pot still for me. When I think of pot stilled whiskey, I think of a little more of a viscous flavor profile or mouthfeel, and sometimes they can get a little crafty, a little farmy tasting, and that does worry me for a product with this price point. But all in all, I felt like I should take this gamble and take the risk on spending that $250, and we're going to find out now just how good or bad this is. The last thing I'll say before we get on to the nosing and tasting is that I'm no expert on Ed Bly, the person that is behind this release. If you want to read more about his story and how he put this together, I will put a link in the description of this video so you can check out some more of that information. But now let's get this thing on the nose. And I just have to call out the color of this whiskey. Not only is it dark, but it has that ruby tint that a lot of older dusty whiskeys have. And so that's just kind of a cool aspect to this. Let's check this thing out on the nose now and see what we get. All right. So the first thing I want to call out is just a huge spice note on the front of this. I think a lot of people, upon first nosing, will think that it's a little abrasive. There's a big cinnamon and big chili pepper note up front. When I first tasted this on a live stream about a month ago, I had an impression of it like, oh no, this is a little closed off. But I think I even read somewhere that Ed Bly, the person behind this, mentioned you should pour it out, give it a little bit of air before you start nosing and tasting. I agree with him. As this bottle has gotten some air in it, as this pour has, sat out for 30 minutes before I started shooting, it does improve with a little bit of air. So big chili pepper, big cinnamon up front on the nose. But right behind that is the most rich, creamy peanut butter note I think I've ever smelled on a whiskey. With that said, if you do not like Heaven Hill or Jim Beam, if you can't stand nuttiness, this is not the whiskey for you. It's not dry peanut shell nuttiness like you get on Young Beam. This is, like I said, creamy peanut butter all the way. I'm not even a big peanut person in my whiskey, and I think this smells incredible. It's like peanut butter and fudge almost on the nose with that chili pepper and with that cinnamon spice. Besides that, I mean, you do get a little bit of like this tobacco, some oak influence as well, but I think primarily this is it's not a one-trick pony, but it's very confident in its profile, and that is that peanut butter, creamy peanut butter. I want to be specific. Fudge, cinnamon, chili pepper. Let's get it on the palate now and see what we get. Cheers. Oh, I mean, the drinking experience of this whiskey, it is pretty intense up front. I mean, that chili pepper spice and that cinnamon, it kicks you in the mouth. But right behind it, oh man, it just keeps going. When this thing starts to develop on the palate, that heavy peanut butter note, it just sits. And I don't know if it's the pot still aspect of this whiskey, if it's the age, if it's just this distillate that I'm not very familiar with. I don't know what's causing this whiskey to be this way, but the density and the heft and just how heavy this sits on the palate, it's enveloping. And I haven't tasted a whiskey that drinks this way in quite some time. I'm kind of speechless right now. I mean, it is fantastic. If you don't like peanut butter, if you don't like nuttiness in your whiskey, yeah, okay, you're not going to like this, but I think you're still going to be able to appreciate the way that it drinks. Sharp up front, okay. I'm looking past that because right behind that sharpness, it's so rich and just mouth coating. I got to do another sip now. Here we go. Wow. And the second sip, once you're used to that cinnamon and chili pepper spice, oh my gosh. Those spices, instead of being this punctuation at the beginning of the palate, look at that alliteration. Punctuation at the beginning of the palate, instead of being that, the second sip, it just serves as a device to kind of develop the whiskey on the palate and push it from front to back. It creates an extremely long finish because of how much spice is in here. But yeah, second sip, now I mean, this is one of my favorite whiskeys that I've had in quite some time. Very specific profile. It's not going to be for everybody, but I think if you do like that Old Fitz kind of profile, even though this is not quite as soft on the palate, or if you like some high-intensity Jim Beam products, maybe, let's say, a 15-year Knob Creek store pick at 120 proof, if those are profiles that resonate with you, this whiskey is going to be right up your alley. We're going to do one final sip now, and then we're going to wrap this up. Wow. So I don't think this is necessarily the most complex whiskey. I may have mentioned that already, but I think what it is with this creamy peanut butter, this huge fudge note in the back of this now, as we get into the finish, there's a little tingle of a citrus note, maybe a hint of this kind of lemon popping up, but it's very faint, mostly oak and leather in the finish. It's not a sweet oak necessarily, but it's also not very funky and drying. I think in the finish, it's a very well-balanced oak that just kind of supports those peanut butter and fudge notes on the palate. I don't know what else to say about this. At $250, I know that seems like a lot of money. I mean, it doesn't seem like it. It is a lot of money. But if you're somebody that regularly buys special releases, you're hunting things that are going to be new but impressive and not just hype for hype's sake, I think this bottle is totally worth the $250. I don't want to say it's worth more. That's kind of a bad thing to do in a video like this. But for $250, there is so much worse you can do on the market these days. And I have to commend Ed Bly for this product. I think, again, there are some sharp elements at the beginning. Give it a little bit of airtime. Sip it, at least twice, 3 times, and start to appreciate just how dense and full and rich this whiskey is. But hats off to Ed and everybody behind this Old Stubborn brand. Amazing. And I've got a backup bottle, and I'm very happy about that. So that's going to do it, guys. Let me know if you've tried this in the comment section. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time here on Drums and Drams. Cheers.